quiet Tuesday morning, a respected accountant walked into his office and never walked out again. There were no signs of struggle, no ransom note, no warning. But what investigators uncovered over the next 12 years would challenge everything they thought they understood about disappearances. Tonight, we're examining the mysterious case of Daniel Mercer, a disappearance that stretched across 3 countries, uncovered hidden financial secrets, and ended in a twist few anticipated. Stay with this story, because the final discovery reshaped the entire investigation. Daniel Mercer was 42 years old, a senior financial analyst at a respected investment firm in Chicago. To his colleagues, he was dependable. To clients, precise and disciplined. To neighbors, quiet but courteous. He was married with 1 daughter, and there were no public signs of conflict in his life. On October 14th, Daniel arrived at work at 8:12 a.m. as confirmed by building security footage. He walked through the lobby carrying his usual leather briefcase. He nodded to the receptionist. He entered the elevator. Everything about the morning appeared ordinary, but there is no footage of him ever leaving the building. That is where the mystery begins. Inside his office, his desk was organized. His laptop was open. A cup of coffee sat half-finished beside his keyboard. His phone was plugged into its charger. Meetings were scheduled through December. A family trip was planned for November. Nothing about the scene suggested someone preparing to vanish. Police initially considered the possibility of a sudden medical emergency. Hospitals were checked. No admissions matched his description. Airports were alerted. No tickets had been purchased. Border crossings showed nothing. Credit cards remained unused. It was as if Daniel Mercer had simply stepped out of existence. 3 days later, a detail shifted the direction of the investigation.
Detectives began reviewing Daniel's financial activity more closely. At first glance, everything appeared normal. Salaries deposited, mortgage paid, utilities on schedule. But deeper digital logs revealed something subtle. Over the previous 2 years, Daniel had accessed confidential internal accounts that were not assigned to him. He had not transferred money. He had not altered records. He had only viewed certain offshore portfolios repeatedly.
Why would a trusted accountant quietly examine high-risk international accounts unrelated to his projects? When questioned, his employer suggested it might have been professional curiosity. But investigators were not satisfied with that explanation. Within those offshore portfolios was a corporate name registered in the United Kingdom. Further tracing revealed financial routing patterns that connected to institutions in India, Chicago, London, Mumbai. Authorities expanded the inquiry. Interpol was contacted. While there was no evidence Daniel himself had traveled abroad recently, someone linked to those accounts had. A business consultant named Arjun Malhotra had flown from London to Chicago 2 weeks before Daniel disappeared. Security footage confirmed the 2 men met once in a private conference room at Daniel's office building. The meeting lasted 38 minutes. There was no audio recording. Investigators interviewed Arjun. He described the meeting as routine, related to international compliance clarifications. He denied any conflict or dispute, but the timeline raised questions. 2 weeks after that meeting, Daniel was gone. The case began to split into 2 competing theories. The first theory suggested Daniel may have uncovered financial misconduct and was silenced before he could report it. The second suggested Daniel himself was involved in something more complicated and may have chosen to disappear intentionally. Family interviews added complexity. His wife said he had been distracted in recent months, working later than usual, occasionally stepping outside to take phone calls, but she reported no threats, no expressions of fear, only stress. Then investigators discovered something else. On the morning Daniel vanished, at exactly 8:47 a.m., he received a phone call from an unregistered number. The call lasted 12 seconds. After that call, he never used his phone again. It would take investigators 6 years to determine who placed that call. Meanwhile, detectives re-examined security footage from the office building. At 9:03 a.m., Daniel was seen walking toward the stairwell instead of using the elevator. There were no cameras inside the stairwell. However, there were cameras covering the parking garage exit. Daniel's car never left. So how did he exit the building? Maintenance records revealed that on the same morning, a fire alarm sensor on the third floor had been temporarily disabled for routine servicing. During that brief maintenance window, several hallway cameras automatically deactivated. The disruption lasted 4 minutes. 4 minutes in which there is no visual record. What occurred during those 4 minutes would remain unanswered for more than a decade. Years passed. Leads faded. Public attention moved on. Daniel was declared legally missing after 7 years. His daughter grew up without clear answers. The offshore accounts investigation slowed. No criminal charges were filed against anyone connected to the case. Then, in 2024, an unexpected development reopened the file. Contractors renovating a storage facility adjacent to Daniel's office building discovered a concealed maintenance access door hidden behind industrial shelving. The door opened into an unused corridor connecting directly to the building's stairwell system. Inside that corridor, preserved beneath a layer of dust, investigators found a wristwatch. Engraved on the back were the initials DM, along with a date marking Daniel's 10th wedding anniversary. It was the watch his wife had given him years earlier. The corridor led to an exterior service exit that had not been covered by surveillance cameras at the time of Daniel's disappearance. For the first time, investigators had a plausible path by which Daniel could have left the building undetected. But the question remained, did he walk through that corridor willingly? Advances in digital tracing eventually allowed authorities to reanalyze the 12-second phone call from that morning. The prepaid phone used to place the call had been purchased in London. Transaction records tied the purchase to Arjun Malhotra. When questioned again, Arjun acknowledged buying prepaid devices for business travel, but denied using one to contact Daniel that day. He maintained that their interaction was strictly professional. Financial audits continued in parallel. Investigators uncovered irregular routing patterns within the offshore corporation Daniel had accessed. While not immediately illegal on their surface, the transactions raised compliance concerns. Years after Daniel's disappearance, a cloud backup associated with his work account revealed encrypted notes. The files suggested Daniel had been documenting anomalies in international fund transfers. He appeared to be preparing a report for an internal compliance review scheduled just 3 days after he vanished. This discovery reinforced the whistleblower theory. However, another piece of evidence complicated that narrative. Records showed that several months before his disappearance, Daniel had applied for a secondary passport under a legal variation of his full name. The application had been approved. It was never officially collected. Investigators now faced an uncomfortable possibility. What if Daniel had uncovered financial misconduct, but feared being implicated himself? What if, instead of exposing it, he decided to remove himself entirely? The concealed corridor, the disabled sensors, the brief phone call, the international connections, each detail could support more than one interpretation. Arjun Malhotra was later charged in the United Kingdom in an unrelated financial fraud case. The charges did not directly reference Daniel Mercer. No evidence definitively tied him to Daniel's disappearance. No remains have ever been discovered. No confirmed sightings have been verified. No conclusive proof of foul play has emerged. Officially, Daniel Mercer's case remains open. Was he a whistleblower who feared retaliation? A participant who anticipated investigation? Or simply a man overwhelmed by pressures no one else fully understood? 12 years later, what remains are fragments. A quiet Tuesday morning, 4 missing minutes of surveillance footage, a 12-second phone call, a hidden corridor no one thought to inspect. Sometimes the most enduring mysteries are not marked by chaos or noise, but by silence. What do you believe happened to Daniel Mercer? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. If you appreciate carefully examined true crime stories told with balance and clarity, consider subscribing and turning on notifications. And continue watching, because not every disappearance ends this quietly.